and trying to get that top 8 for Sidisi Whip.
So this is a deck that's built around the graveyard synergies of Commune with the Gods and so forth to facilitate Sidisi and Whip of Erebos?
Yeah, we are, well, Sidisi kind of playing the role of both enabler and payoff in its own right. But yeah, we're basically just trying to fill the graveyard up and get some giant Night Howlers and some cheap nemesis of mortals and a bunch of zombie tokens.
So R&D has got pushier over the years with kind of innocuous life gaining, which is nice. People like to gain life. It feels good. Unfortunate consequence of that is sometimes life totals are 51 to 42 as we enter minute 35 of game 1.
All right. Okay. So what are the culprits here? Of course, we have Whip of Erebos down there south on Joseph's board. We have an 11/11 Night Howler and of course a 5/5 Nylea that can grow. So I see how Joseph has gained all this life. What's Pat been up to?
It's probably Wingmate Rock and Siege Rhinos, I would guess. Wingmate Rock is probably the big culprit.
Sure. This reminds me of Standard from 2 seasons ago, with the whole Thragtusk Resto Angel.
This is an even more extreme version of that.
Yeah.
I mean, 66 to 37, 52 to 48. These are not life totals we saw really even in Thragtusk mirrors.
Well, yeah, occasionally, but yeah, the life totals just start at 20 and immediately start going up, it seems. So the real question is, like, what end game are you playing for at this stage?
If you're in Pat's seat, I think possibly decking.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious what the actual count is for Joseph. Like, what I see a Sidisi in a graveyard there. Yeah, there's a commune with the gods that's been cast, so pretty likely actually that Joseph is down into like the teens in terms of library count.
Keep in mind he has a Nylea in play, so that's giving all of his creatures trample. Puts a lot of pressure on Pat to block, every turn and block correctly. His Fleece Main line on the ground does a lot of good work, but with things like Night Howler, Nemesis Immortals, Joseph still might be able to overpower all of this.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Pat's board now. Just want to confirm all those creatures are in play, right? All those the Death Dealers up there and the Rhino. That's not like an overflowing graveyard or something. Okay.
Yeah, that looks like
those are all in play.
That's the blocking squad, I think.
Yep. Arrow Wild's gonna show up thanks to Whip of Erebos. The old Death Touch Trample connection. That's
a combo.
Yeah. Would be more helpful if your opponent wasn't at 41, but
you start where you can start, you know?
Yeah, fair enough.
Rome was not built in a day.
True. Nor do 41 points of life evaporate in one combat step. So those are the guys coming in. I guess that Nemesis is just a 5/5 right now. Okay, but not for long. It is getting monstrous into 10/10 with trample, thanks to the Nylea. So the Fleece Main is going to fog one of those points from the air. So currently 2 incoming, over the Fleece Main, thanks to Arrow of the Wilds. Nylea does not give herself trample.
Correct.
So the Rakshasa Death Dealer down there, as it regenerates, is going to prevent the full 5 there. And currently we got a lot of damage coming over the top of this other Arrow of the Wilds.
Yeah, this looks like 8 plus whatever Nylea pumps are going on top.
Yeah.
Which will knock Pat down to 33.
Yeah. Rome wasn't built in a day, but Joseph might be able to build it in a week.
Well, I don't know if he has a week. I mean, he didn't cast the Commune with the Gods, which to me is an indication that his library might be getting really lean.
Yeah, I agree.
If he can't afford to cast that card with a whip in play,
sure,
probably in some trouble.
And at this stage, I'm not even sure which pile is his library. It's the the one that he just put that thing into. So I thought it was his graveyard. I guess it's.
Keep in mind, he's also not whipping back Sidisi, which is generally speaking a juicy whip target.
Yeah. Seriously, though, where is his library? Which one is it? I can't even tell.
Well, he has a Corsair in play.
Right, so it's going to be one with
it's the one with Whip of Erebos on the top.
Okay.
I believe.
All right. Well, that one at least has a spell in it, so it is not a 0. And Pat gonna crack in with his Wingmate Rock and friends, and that is a. Let's see, that's just 4 life, right? Yeah, that's just some flyers.
Nothing fancy, just an attack for 10, it looks like.
Yeah, I was having to review, like, are any of those are at 1 rock and 2 tokens. And then the Tom Ross vampire token does not itself have life links. So, yeah, just 4 life.
And Pat looks like picking up the deck to do a quick count. See how much is left. Again, I suspect very little.
Yeah. Yeah, that looked like maybe 5 or
7.
6. Yeah.
Yeah, 7. Got it on the eyeball.
Not bad.
Yeah.
All right. I was going to say 5 or 6, so I'm not so powerful a wizard.
Well, there's certain skills that are good to have in Magic, and being able to quickly identify how many cards are. It's not that practical.
In a stack of cards.
Yeah, it's not
generally,
not that practical, but I have some experience.
Yeah, fair enough. And so Joseph begins to turn. Now, 7 feels like so many at this point too.
Well, I mean, Pat's got this pretty clogged up, and I think that Joseph is running out of viable whip targets because the Siddiqis are sort of off the table right now.
That's fair. Okay, and it was Heir of the Wilds that came back last time, so it looks like just these 2. Interesting, Joseph is not attacking with any of his little guys. Yeah, he does have Nylea. He could pump them up. At least twice with his lands, and then a 3rd time, I think, with those 2 Elvish Mystics. So,
yeah, potentially he has more attacks afforded to him than he's really capitalizing on.
Yeah. Now, 1 swing, I mean, you could maybe attack with just 1 and see what happens. You obviously can't pump them all. So if you just kind of swing with the whole squad, you'd lose a lot to these random clunkers that just happen to be sitting there, like that Siege Rhino. But as it stands, he's just going to attack with Nylea and the Nemesis Immortals.
So we're going to see some pumps and regeneration, most likely. All Pat has to concern himself with right now is preventing as much damage as coming through as possible. Because inevitability is on his side right now.
Yeah, this is such a bizarre, like, mode to be in. It's like, well, can I gaining 4 a turn? Can I keep myself from taking 35 points of damage for 7 turns?
Plus, Pat has more draw steps too. I mean, every Siege Rhino he finds, every Wingmate Rock especially, might really cement this game.
Yeah, fair. And I was about to ask, he might actually be making headway in the damage race as well. But he's not, it turns out.
Yeah, Joseph has said 73.
Yeah, so Joseph, life total, actually just going up every turn that we've watched this game. Notably, that Nemesis Immortals did leave play. So we managed to trade off some blockers and actually get it into the graveyard where it's not gone for good.
Oh, no, that's the exile pile.
Oh.
That's from Whip.
Okay, all right.
The way that his board is laid out is very confusing because deck, and then underneath deck is graveyard, and then off to the side or underneath all of that is exile. But right now it's deck on the top, closest to Pat's deck, then exile zone, then graveyard.
So the Siddiqi pile is the graveyard.
Correct.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. We were watching him last round, and he was keeping his exile like turned perpendicular to his graveyard, just above it like that. So, of course, we're gonna come off the top. Heir of the Wilds, gonna pop up there, let you know he's coming. And yeah, does Joseph have any actual attackers left?
This is rough because look at the clock. We're under 8 minutes. If Joseph's playing out a hopeless game, he's possibly condemning himself to just a 1-0 loss. Because I don't get the vibe his deck can win that quickly.
Yeah, well, I think the ship has sailed on finishing a match in this sense. I think this game is deciding the match one way or another, and I think both players know that.
Yep. So Joseph with the mana available here for 3 pumps.
And is going to bring the pain with all of these little guys. I believe that is 3 Satyr Wayfinders and a Courser of Kruphix. And Pat considers his options. Looks like, we're fanning him out to allow creatures to match up with creature. And Death Dealer going to go in front of the Courser, and it looks like 1/1 Wayfinder getting through, the others blocked by Monstrous Fleecemane Lion and 4/5 Rhino.
It doesn't seem like there's much merit to putting the Siege Rhino in front in my mind because Rakshasa Death Dealer and Fleecemane Lion both block cleanly against these threats. So I think my preferred block, I think I might have preferred just putting the Fleecemane Lion in front of Nylea, put both Death Dealers in front of 2 of the tokens, allow Joseph to pump however he wants to pump, but there's not a lot of productive to be done.
Sure.
This basically allows Joseph to get the Siege Rhino off the table in a spot where I don't think Pat is making significantly more inroads blocking this way than just leaving the Siege Rhino back and trying to make inroads in the board with his Death Dealers.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, he's basically cashing in his Siege Rhino like for its toughness.
Correct.
Which it's probably going to do eventually anyway. But you might be able to like make Joseph's attacks a little more awkward in the meantime if you let it sit there. As it stands, he is going to. So did he pump and regenerate his Death Dealer? Yeah, it looks like he did. So okay. So the Courser is going to go. One of the Wayfinders is going to go. The one that was blocked by Siege Rhino. Actually, yeah. Okay, there he is.
Yeah.
Looks like it was pumped to a 7/7. So it is going to stay. And then, of course, the one that was not blocked at all going to stick around as well. So Joseph now down to 2 Elvish Mystics, 2 Satyr Wayfinders, and the Nylea. And notably, that's 5 Green Devotion.
Yes.
Joseph actually, if he loses another green permanent, now he is going to find that Heir of the Wilds, although which...
I would imagine with Joseph's leftovers, the stuff in his graveyard, he could probably reassemble Devotion on a turn-to-turn basis.
Yep.
Even if he loses 5 Devotion on the board.
Yep. That Heir of the Wilds, it shouldn't technically be revealed. It's one of those things where, like, since it was already revealed, there's not really any harm in leaving it there.
There's also 30,000 things going on in this game, so some things will get lost in the shuffle.
Yep. So anyway, we knew it was coming, but it is going to provide a 6th Devotion such that, Joseph can lose something and still have his 5/5. But this board looks a lot cleaner, honestly, than it did when we found it.
Yep.
And I'm liking Pat's spot more and more as the turns progress.
I just don't. I think it's going to be a huge challenge for Joseph to be able to win this game in time, because Pat's defenses right now are so solid that even this Nylea, absent of something like Nykthos or something like that, I just don't think he's going to be able to punch through in time.
Yeah, he is going to. Well, all right. So I was counting up the Devotion on board. Turns out Joseph just had a handful of little green Duders. Another replacement Courser of Crucifix, Reclamation Sage, which is an optional trigger, so doesn't have to blow up that whip. And I believe is another. Well, the Heir of the Wilds that he drew. Those are all joining the party this turn.
The real important thing is a Night Howler on top of Joseph's deck. Although he has probably lost a fair amount of his graveyard to whip activations, I still have to imagine it's quite large.
When we first came to the match, we were told that he had an 11/11 Night Howler. Since then, he has whipped 2 things into play, and a couple of guys have died.
Right. So we're probably at roughly the same size.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember, does Nylea give all of your creatures trample or just the green ones?
All creatures.
All creatures, okay. So 11/11 Trampler, which is a much bigger deal.
Yes.
So Pat's going to add a pair of Heralds of Torment to the board and ship it back. And
Joseph here, I don't even think can afford to put that Opulent Palace in play, because right now his bottleneck is cards in library.
Yeah, every card that he draws is another turn off of his life, basically. And we counted, we got 7. I want to say 2 turns have passed since then. So yeah, the noose is tightening for Joseph.
Though this is a really nice setup for Joseph here. He gets to put the Night Howler on Heir of the Wilds. We know about the Death Touch plus Trample combo. This Heir of the Wilds is huge.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a path to punch through.
Okay, so currently a 13/13 Heir of the Wilds. We're not clear if that actually, that may be 13/13 on its own. That may be 13/13 plus 1 from the actual trigger. I love that it triggers itself.
Yeah, I believe so. So that means that he can block with the Fleet's main line is 4, 6, 8, 11, 14. He can put everything in front of the Heir of the Wilds, but then the Nylea pumps.
Yeah.
Play over the top.
And just got clarification there, 13 creatures in the graveyard. So that is 2/2 as a base stat, plus 13 from the Night Howler, plus another 1 from the trigger when it attacks. So looking at 16 just incoming before Nylea's.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Of course, these These other little guys are rumbling in too. And those are basically just going to get eaten by these Heralds of Torment. But Rakshasa Death Dealer can block and regenerate. That's still going to trample over 14. I love that trample over 14 is like,
okay, whatever.
Yeah, it's really, it's bad, but it's not like, normally if someone's trampling over 14, it's like, well, GG. But in this case, Pat has some life points to work with still. But yeah, still very bad news for Pat.
You see the clock now, under a minute.
Yeah, at this point, we may not see a game decided. And honestly, like, I don't feel like these players have been playing slowly. This has just been a very complicated board.
Given the complexity of the board, I think both players have been playing quite fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Joseph is legitimately trying to like close out with damage, which is a real thing he can do. And
Pat's taking his turn and trying to keep his head above water.
Yeah.
And deck Joseph.
Yeah. This must have been an exhausting game to have played from the beginning.
Yes. These games, I mean, you know, games like this can be exhausting. I rarely play decks like this, so I haven't experienced much of this myself. And the thing is, any small little hiccup, especially once you start talking about things like Nylea pumping things and granting trample, and Pat this game can just slip away from Pat.
Yeah. I think of all the decks I've played, the one that I would have most described as exhausting was actually Maverick and Legacy.
Yes, the Maverick mirror is excruciating.
Yeah, I played one Grand Prix with Maverick where I got stuck in the draw bracket and then played Maverick mirrors 4 rounds in a row on day 2. That was the worst Grand Prix of my life. So Pat does have the Absent Charm, is going to
take care of Nylea. That's a huge draw for
that's
Pat.
big. And now none of Joseph's creatures have trample, so Pat's safe to sit behind these regenerators.
And there's only one Nylea in this list for Joseph.
Yeah.
So Pat no longer has to worry about that.
Yeah, only 1 in the main, 0 in the side. So trample just not a problem anymore. And we have reached 0. Unclear if that is. Okay, so that's the round clock for these players. They did not have any extensions past this, so we are in turn 1 of turns.
So Joseph will get turns 1, turns 3, and turns 5.
And no profitable attacks, again. With no trample, there's really no reason to send in other than maybe to gain a bunch of life. But at 94, I think he's fine there.
Probably safe from getting killed.
Yeah.
Over 2 turns.
Yeah, Pat's only going to have 2 combat steps. So even though he is going to get to fly over for 17, twice.
It's nowhere even. It's not even. It's a negligible amount of damage.
Yeah. So that currently 16 creatures in Joseph's graveyard. So an 18/18 Heir of the Wild is going to come in.
Ooh, 19/19 because it triggers.
Yeah. It actually, I'm not actually positive if it does count itself. It may say another creature, but
sure.
Either way, we're putting the game just the same amount of out of reach it was before on damage, I think.
Yeah, it would be weird for Heir to say other because it, under normal circumstances, can't count itself.
Sure. Okay. And it's also, I guess, the stock wording for the ferocious mechanic.
Yes.
Since it is
correct.
Yeah, not keyword, ability worded, I guess.
Yeah.
So it would be the same for everyone.
See, look at that, some R&D chops.
Yeah, there we go.
Very nicely done.
And yeah, Pat, I think I kind of see this slipping out of reach.
Just trying to figure out if it's worth trying to gain some life, but probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, you can.
Never mind.
So he's gonna send in some attacks. Sure.
Sure.
Drop you from 113 to 104. Yeah.
Making some progress.
Yeah, it's a pride thing, I guess.
You want him to be below triple digits when it's all said and done.
Sure. Joseph going to draw. This is now turn 3.
And it looks like Joseph will draw on the 5th turn and have 1 card left in his deck.
Yeah. So Night Howler going to show up on the 5th turn. Still no source of trampling over. So yeah, Pat. Yeah. Giant guy attacks. Pat just says indestructible guy block.
Just says, all right, I'll take my 20 or whatever it is.
Yeah, Fleecemane Lion. I would love to know how much damage that Fleecemane Lion has taken this game.
I mean,
Actually, probably not that many because we were trampling for most of the game. So
it wouldn't surprise me if it was, north of 40 or 50 points of damage.
sure.
Players in the Standard Open.
But yep, just the same. Last draw step of the game for Pat McGregor. Finds Fleece Main Lion.
Can just go monstrous, get another
Yeah,
blocker.
why not?
Now was a great time.
And we know actually what Joseph's going to draw. So
Prize.
all the cards are known at this point.
Have not filled a tax.
And it looks like Pat would probably get this with a couple more turns if it drew to its natural
Oh,
conclusion.
yeah, sure, yeah. If 2 more turns had happened, then yes, Pat was going to win. And yep, gonna pass it back. We are now on turn 5. Joseph draws. You have a bestow of Night Howler number 2 incoming for like $1 million.
And that will do it. Excruciatingly enough.
Yeah, the old 000 or 001.
All right, Pat McGregor and
Results.
Joseph Behrens tied 0 games to 0. Potentially a win in next round.
Yeah, both
hopefully
players-
they don't run into the same matchup.
I think Joseph is probably the only person in contention still playing Sidisi Whip. So Pat's safe.
It is a slow burn.
Yeah.
Wow, is that deck a slow burn?
Yeah. So yeah, both of these players now in that tough spot where they can win and hope.
Yes.
Because of course, yeah, X1 and 1, most people with that record do make top 8, but ideally you want to be drawing into it so that you know if it's safe or not. A lot of times, the players who make it to the last round with the X wins, 1 win, 1 loss, and 1 draw record are playing for 9th or 10th.
Well,